Time is the one resource that once spent cannot be earned back. When it comes to investing, it's not just important, it's everything. The earlier you begin, the more powerful your returns become over time. That's not because you have more money, it's because you have more time for that money to grow. Too many people believe that they'll start investing when they get a raise, when the bills slow down, or when the market feels safe. But what they don't realize is that every year they delay, they're robbing themselves of the most valuable component of financial growth: time. The principle is simple but powerful: compound interest. Albert Einstein is credited with calling it the eighth wonder of the world. Why? Because it allows your money to earn money, and then that money begins to earn money. It's like planting a tree. At first it's small. You water it, you give it sunlight, you protect it from harm. Not much changes in the first season. But as the years pass, that tree starts to take root. It grows branches. It bears fruit. Before long, it's producing far more than you ever put in, but only because you started early. Now imagine waiting to plant the seed. Year after year, you walk past the empty patch of soil, telling yourself, I'll get to it soon. Eventually, when you finally do plant the seed, you've already lost the richest growing seasons, and here's the truth. No amount of money you invest later can make up for the growth you missed by not starting earlier. That's the real cost of delay. It's not just lost dollars, it's lost years. And those years are the silent engine of wealth. Let's take an example. Imagine two people, Sarah and James. Sarah starts investing at 25, putting in just $200, 0 cents a month for 10 years. By 35, she stops, but she never touches the account again. James waits until he's 35 to start and invest $200, 0 cents every month until he's 65. That's 30 years of consistent contributions. But when both of them reach retirement, guess what? Sarah, who only invested for 10 years, ends up with more money than James. Why? Because her money had time on its side. Compound interest had decades to work its magic. That's the power of time in investing. It multiplies your discipline. It magnifies your patience. It rewards your consistency. It doesn't ask you to be a genius or a financial expert. It just asks you to begin. You don't need a fortune to start. You just need to start. Because every day you wait, you shrink the impact of what time could do for you. But here's where most people get stuck. They underestimate small beginnings. They think, what good is $100, 0 cents a month? But that small seed, with time, can become a forest. The first step isn't to wait for more, it's to build the habit. The earlier you begin, the more flexibility you have. You don't have to take risky bets or chase high returns. You let time do the heavy lifting. You give your money the gift of patience. So why do people wait? They think they have time. They don't see the cost of delay because the damage isn't obvious in the short term. But 10, 20, 30 years down the line, the gap becomes enormous. Starting early doesn't just increase your wealth, it reduces your stress. It gives you options. It builds a future you can look forward to, not fear. When you understand that time is not just part of the equation, it is the equation, you stop waiting and start building. Compound interest is often misunderstood because its power unfolds quietly, slowly, and invisibly at first. It doesn't demand brilliance, luck, or even big money. It simply rewards consistency over time. Most people are looking for the big score, the jackpot, the sudden windfall, but wealth, real wealth, is almost never built in one dramatic event. It's built in the small, disciplined actions repeated again and again. That's where compound interest shines. It doesn't favor the fast. It favors the steady. Let's think of it like this. Imagine you're planting a field. You don't just toss out a few seeds and expect a full harvest tomorrow. No, you plant, you water, you protect, and you wait. The growth is slow at first, sometimes almost invisible. But if you're consistent with your care, the results begin to multiply. Compound interest works the same way. It starts small, maybe too small to get excited about, but if you keep going, if you stay consistent, the growth starts to snowball. And once it picks up speed, it becomes unstoppable. One of the biggest traps people fall into is believing they need a large sum of money to make investing worthwhile. That's not true. What matters more than size is habit. If you invest $100, 0 cents every month for the next 30 years, the outcome can be staggering, not because of how much you put in, but because of how long and consistently you did it. The interest you earn begins to earn interest, and then that interest earns even more. The growth curve starts off flat, but then it curves upward, up sharply. That curve is built by time and consistency, not size or strategy. But here's the catch. You have to stay with it. Many people give up too soon. They look at their investment after a year or two and think, it's not working. But that's like quitting a workout program after 2 weeks because you haven't seen a six-pack. It's not that the strategy failed, it's that the consistency wasn't there long enough for the results to show. Compound interest needs time, and time needs your discipline. Consistency also protects you from emotional decision-making. When you invest consistently, you're not trying to time the market. You're not jumping in when everything looks good and pulling out when you're scared. You're removing emotion and building a system. That system, over time, outperforms the guessing game. It's the same with any area of life, whether it's health, learning, or business. A little bit done regularly is always more powerful than a lot done occasionally. Another benefit of consistent investing is how it trains your mindset. It develops discipline, patience, and long-term thinking, 3 traits that serve you far beyond your finances. You begin to trust the process, even when the results aren't immediate. And over time, you'll realize that consistency itself becomes the reward. It changes how you think. It shifts your identity from someone who reacts to someone who builds. It's also worth noting that compound interest doesn't just apply to money. It applies to knowledge, habits, relationships, and skills. Every time you read a book, save $1, exercise, or learn something new, you're making a deposit that can compound over time. But the key is to keep making the deposits no matter how small they seem. Don't discount small beginnings. Don't overlook daily disciplines. They are the seeds of exponential results. The reality is, success in anything is rarely explosive. It's cumulative. And compound interest is the financial expression of that truth. It doesn't reward those who dabble. It rewards those who commit. And the sooner you commit to consistency, the sooner time becomes your ally instead of your enemy. One of the greatest illusions people live with is the idea that they have time to spare, that somehow delaying a good decision doesn't really cost them anything. But when it comes to investing, waiting is far more expensive than most people realize. The opportunity cost of delay isn't always visible in the moment, but over time it compounds just as surely as the interest you would have earned if you had started. Every year you put it off, you're not just standing still, you're falling behind. What people often forget is that time is a limited asset. You can always make more money, but you can't make more time. Every day that passes is a day you can never get back. And when it comes to wealth building, the early years are the most powerful. Why? Because compound interest works best with a long runway. The longer your money has to grow, the more exponential the returns. Delay robs you of those vital early years, and no amount of aggressive investing later can fully make up for what you lost. Let's say you delay investing for 5 years. That might not seem like much, especially if you're still young, but in financial terms, that delay could cost you tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars down the road. And here's the frustrating part. You'll never see the cost. You'll never get a monthly statement showing you what your money could have become. It's invisible, but it's real. The truth is, most people wait because they think conditions will get better. I'll start when I make more money. I'll invest when the market calms down. I'll wait until I understand everything. But waiting for the perfect moment is a trap. Markets are always moving. Life is always happening. There's no such thing as the perfect time. There's only now. And the longer you wait, the more you hand over your future to chance instead of choice. The early bird doesn't just get the worm. The early investor gets the wealth. The magic of starting early is that it reduces pressure. You don't have to contribute large amounts. You don't have to take big risks. because time does the heavy lifting. And that kind of financial peace, that freedom, comes from understanding one key principle. The cost of waiting is far greater than the discomfort of starting. Many people think starting small won't make a difference, but small contributions with a long time horizon often outperform larger contributions that start much later. That's because of the nature of compounding. It's slow at first, but then it accelerates. And the only way to get to that powerful acceleration phase is to start early and be patient. If you wait too long, you miss that phase entirely. And it's not just about numbers, it's about mindset. Waiting to invest sends a message to your future self that your financial well-being isn't urgent. It tells your subconscious that your dreams and goals can wait. But starting now tells a different story. It says you're serious, it says you're planning, building, and taking control. That shift in mindset is powerful, and it affects how you show up in other areas of your life. Opportunity doesn't always knock twice. The chance to invest early and wisely is something you either seize or miss. And while starting later is better than never starting at all, it will always come with more pressure, less room for error, and fewer rewards. That's not meant to scare you, it's meant to wake you up. The sooner you understand that waiting isn't neutral, it's costly, the sooner you'll take action. Because every month, every year that passes without investment isn't just lost time, it's lost potential. Potential that could have worked for you, grown for you, and created the freedom you desire. That's why delaying your investment journey isn't a small misstep, it's a huge mistake. Fear is one of the biggest roadblocks to building wealth. It's natural to feel hesitant about investing, especially when you don't fully understand the process or when you've heard stories of people losing money in the market. But allowing fear to make your financial decisions is like letting the rearview mirror drive your car. You can glance at it for perspective, but if you focus on it, you'll crash into what's ahead. The truth is, fear will always be there. It just shouldn't be in charge. Most people don't take action because they think they need all the answers before they begin. But if you wait until you know everything, you'll never start. The most successful investors aren't the ones who knew it all from day one. They're the ones who are willing to learn as they went. You don't have to be an expert. You just have to be willing to be a student. Action creates clarity. Once you take that first step, your confidence grows and the fear begins to shrink. People also fear losing money, and that's understandable. But what many don't realize is that not investing is often a guaranteed loss. Inflation erodes the value of your savings every single year. That means if you leave your money sitting idle, it's silently shrinking. So the idea that doing nothing is the safe path is a myth. In reality, doing nothing is a slow leak in your financial future. While all investing carries some level of risk, so does inaction. And over time, the risk of inaction is far greater. You can reduce fear by increasing your knowledge. Start reading books on personal finance. Watch videos that explain basic investing principles. Follow people who are already doing what you want to do. The more you understand, the more confident you become. But here's the key. Don't fall into the trap of thinking you need to know it all before you start. You learn faster when you're engaged. When your money is in the game, even in a small way, your learning accelerates. The truth is, most of the fear comes from stories we tell ourselves. I'm not good with money. I'm not smart enough to invest. I don't come from a wealthy background. But none of those beliefs are facts. They're excuses that keep you from stepping into a more empowered future. The way you change the story is by changing the behavior. When you take action despite the fear, you start rewriting the script in your mind. It also helps to start small. You don't need to throw thousands of dollars into the market on day one. Begin with a modest amount, something that won't break you if it dips. This gives you the benefit of real-world experience without overwhelming risk. As you watch how your investment behaves, you'll gain insight and, more importantly, confidence. That confidence becomes the antidote to fear. One of the most liberating lessons is this. You don't have to be fearless to win. You just have to act in spite of the fear. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's doing the right thing even when fear is whispering in your ear. And that's how you grow. Every decision you make in favor of growth chips away at the wall of fear that's been holding you back. Remember, everyone starts somewhere. The wealthy investor you admire today was once a beginner too, unsure, inexperienced, maybe even scared. But they didn't let that stop them. They acted, they learned, and they kept going. And so can you. It's not about perfection, it's about progress. Start where you are, use what you have, and take the next step. Fear may always knock on your door, but it's your choice whether or not to let it in. The idea of risk often gets misunderstood. Most people are afraid of losing money, so they choose to do nothing. They keep their money in a savings account or tucked away where it feels safe. But here's the irony. The greatest risk is not taking any. It's not doing something wrong. It's doing nothing at all. Because over time, the cost of inaction far outweighs the occasional misstep. Money that sits still doesn't stay the same. It shrinks under the pressure of inflation, missed opportunity, and the loss of momentum. When you avoid investing because of fear or uncertainty, you're not avoiding risk. You're choosing a different kind of risk, a silent, invisible one. You're trading the short-term discomfort of learning and adapting for the long-term consequences of being unprepared. Doing nothing feels comfortable in the moment, but over the years it compounds into regret. That's the kind of risk people rarely talk about. The risk of stagnation. It's slow, it's quiet, but it's dangerous. Think of it like standing on the shore watching everyone else board the boat. They may not have the perfect map, but they're moving forward. You, on the other hand, are safe and dry. But the tide is rising, and eventually you find that standing still actually sets you back. That's what happens when you delay financial action. The world keeps moving, the economy keeps shifting, opportunities pass by, and your money loses value as you wait. And then there's inflation, the sneaky thief of your savings. Inflation is at 3%, and your money is sitting in a savings account earning less than that. You're losing money every single year. You don't feel it immediately. It doesn't show up as a loss on your statement, but it's happening. It's like a slow leak in your financial tire. Eventually, you'll find yourself wondering why your purchasing power has weakened and why everything seems more expensive. But there's more. The risk of doing nothing isn't just financial. It's emotional and psychological too. It creates a pattern of hesitation. When you avoid investing, you often avoid other areas of growth as well. You start to condition yourself to stay in your comfort zone. You become someone who overthinks, who waits, who lets opportunity pass. And over time, this behavior shapes your identity. You become a spectator in your own life instead of a participant. Investing doesn't guarantee success, but it guarantees movement. It puts you in the game. It gives you experience, and experience is one of the most valuable teachers. You may have small losses. You may make mistakes. But each of those teaches you something. And most importantly, you're building forward momentum. You're learning how money works, how markets behave, and how you respond under pressure. That's real progress. Now, this doesn't mean you should invest recklessly. Calculated risk is different from blind risk. It means doing your research, starting small, staying consistent, and diversifying. But it also means understanding that action is always better than inaction. Not every investment will be a home run. That's okay. You don't need perfection to build wealth. You need persistence. People often ask, what if I lose money? But a better question is, what if I never start? Because not starting guarantees you'll never build the financial freedom you're capable of. It guarantees that your future will be limited by the choices you didn't make. In life, some of the best opportunities come to those who are in motion. Not the ones who waited for certainty, but the ones who were willing to step forward with courage and learn along the way. Risk will always be there, but so will reward. The question is, which risk are you willing to take? The risk of action or the risk of doing nothing? Only one of them leads to growth. Wealth is not a windfall, it's a byproduct of habit. The people who build lasting success financially didn't just do one big thing right. They did 1,000 small things right over and over. It's not about hitting a jackpot or catching some lucky break in the stock market. It's about discipline. It's about routines. It's about systems that run whether you feel motivated or not. The greatest fortunes are not built by chance. They're built by daily decisions repeated with consistency. The power of small, disciplined steps is grossly underestimated. Most people think they need to make a huge leap forward to see change, but it's the opposite. If you invest $5, 0 cents a day, that's not much in the beginning, but over a year, that's over $1,800, 0 cents. Over a decade with compounding, that number grows exponentially, and that $5, 0 cents a day builds more than just money. It builds the habit of investing. That habit becomes part of your identity. You become the kind of person who takes care of their future every single day. Discipline in any area works the same way. It compounds. Miss one workout? Not a big deal. Miss a workout every week? That becomes your new pattern. Save $100, 0 cents a month? That doesn't seem like a lot. But after a few years, that savings account begins to reflect something powerful. Not just money saved, but character built. You didn't just grow a balance, you grew your ability to be consistent. That's the real win. The discipline to invest regularly, even when you don't feel like it, is a mindset shift. It's you telling yourself, I am responsible for my future. It's not a flashy move, you won't get applause for it, but over time you'll be miles ahead of the person who is waiting for motivation to show up. Wealth doesn't come from inspiration, it comes from implementation, from doing the right things when no one's watching, from saying no to short-term comfort in favor of long-term freedom. People are often looking for hacks or shortcuts, but the biggest hack is this: show up every day. Automatic investing, scheduled savings, sticking to a simple budget. These aren't complicated strategies, but they work. Why? Because they take emotion out of the equation. You don't have to decide whether or not to invest today if it's already built into your system. That's the beauty of discipline. It reduces the weight of decision making, and it protects your future from your present mood. It's also important to understand that building wealth is not just about money, it's about who you become in the process. The person who shows up every month, invests a portion of their income, lives below their means, and avoids unnecessary debt isn't just financially secure, they're mentally strong, they're in control. And that kind of control spills into every other area of life. Health, relationships, purpose. Discipline in one area strengthens discipline in all areas. Many people look at wealthy individuals and think they got lucky. But if you peel back the layers, you'll see years of ordinary days stacked with extraordinary consistency. You'll find boring habits repeated with relentless focus. That's how wealth is created. Not through lottery tickets, but through lunch packed from home. Not through market timing, but through monthly contributions. Not through flashy wins, but through quiet, steady progress. Wealth rewards those who are patient. It honors those who are consistent. And it builds for those who build it. Not in a week, not in a month, but across decades of small, intentional action. When you understand that, you stop looking for the next big thing and start doubling down on what already works. Because when you stack enough small, disciplined steps in the same direction, they don't just add up, they multiply. The difference between financial freedom and financial frustration often comes down to one simple truth. Those who win are the ones who start, stay consistent, and stay in motion. Waiting feels safe, but it quietly steals your most valuable asset, time. Every excuse, every delay, every moment of hesitation carries a cost that most never notice until it's too late. But the good news is, you don't need to be brilliant, you don't need to be rich, you just need to begin. Take action, take responsibility, build the habit, because when you choose consistent effort over convenience, discipline over delay, and learning over fear, you don't just invest your money, you invest in a future you can be proud of. V.